The impossible has happened.
Rest in peace, Vin Scully. Coach Al, how much will we miss him? Talk about a legend, one of a kind, and maybe without comparison. Fair?
Well, I think upstairs Harry Callis might just drop the number 2.
Yeah, because we had a good one. Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
had a
did.
good one. And those calls are unbelievable. If one picture's worth 1,000 words, you have just watched a million words after the Mookie Wilson play, which, by the way, Wiz, I think Wilson would have been safe. When you look at the replays and Buckner's sliding over, people forget, Coach, that he was 10 feet to the right, slides to his left, and he's back on his heels. Right, his weight's going backwards, and he reaches down for the ball, which goes under his legs, of course, and then Wilson hits the bag. We've timed this many times in less than a second. I don't think Buckner, from 12 feet away, back on his heels, is picking the ball up at his age and beating Wilson to the bag. But nevertheless, we lost a legend. Wiz, do you remember anything at all about Vin Scully?
I knew the name. I did have to look him up a bit when I saw and kind of get refreshed. And I was really just shocked because you forget. It's so easy to forget, what someone did when you get caught up with everything going on today. And look at where this guy started. They started in the 1950s. I mean, you're talking about Pee Wee Reese, Jackie Robinson, 1960s. Don Drysdale, Sandy Koufax. I mean, really impressive stuff here. I mean, this guy he was the voice of baseball for, 60 years?
Yeah.
70 years?
66 years, I think, and he sounded just as good at the end as he did in the beginning. You never would know, if you didn't know who was talking, that the man was that old and still that competent
Jimmy, would it be fair to say that there was a magical element about his voice? Like sometimes you look at a comedian and you'll say, oh, he's really good because he looks like a comedian, I would not make a good comedian. Well, maybe at times I have, right? But when you heard Vin Scully, there was an element to his vocal cords that was just baseball. It was perfect for the job. Is that a fair description?
flawless.
Flawless, yeah.
All those old school guys knew how to do it, like him and Callis. Like, they knew how to let the game breathe.
Yeah.
He could go 5 minutes without saying a word sometimes, and you wouldn't even notice.
Jimmy, you bring up a fantastic point. In two of his iconic calls, Mookie Wilson and, of course, Gibson's walk-off, he makes the call, and then there's nothing for 2 minutes. He lets the play out, lets the fans enjoy the moment, and doesn't want to dilute it or disrupt it by any of his chatter. He just quiet, reverent to the moment, and then comes in with a classic line after that. It's uncanny that he was there for Gibson, was there for Hank Aaron's record. Mookie Wilson, Koufax's perfect game.
Yeah, on that note, he called 3 perfect games.
Right.
And 20 no-hitters.
20.
Talk about a guy who was around a long time to be around for 23 combined perfect games and no-hitters.
That's a good find.
And Chuck, a good point. On the Gibson home run, he let people watch Gibson run the bases, limping, giving that, and let him go all the way around, and everybody on TV and at the game themselves just watched that whole thing. Nothing had to be said, and he didn't say anything.
If you recall back to the iconic home run that we're talking about, 1988 World Series, Game 1, and Gibson has both legs are actually significantly injured, and they didn't even announce him to come out, with a player introduction. They didn't even announce him that day because he didn't think he'd factor in. So he's in the batter's box, and he's shaking his legs a lot. Every time he takes a swing, he's shaking his legs. And Scully says he's shaking his leg like a horse trying to get rid of a troublesome fly. Now, I'll tell you what.
Poetry.
Yeah, where the heck does it come up with that, And then, there's not to dive into that scenario because I think that's for another podcast. But there's so much behind the big story. The big story, of course, is the epic Gibson home run and Scully's unbelievable call. But if you look at the at-bat, Coach, there's so much that goes on where it doesn't look like Gibson's can hit a ball. He's swinging with just his hands. I have a few pictures of it. Maybe we can get it on. And Eckersley threw him a couple high pitches, and he almost fell over. So it's so bad that Lasorda says Davis is on first base. He has to steal because we're not going to get a ball in the gap. So he's got to be at second base. All he's going to get is a flare hit here at best.
Well, that makes sense.
So Davis takes off, and then Gibson interferes with the throw. So he's talking to Eckersley many years past that moment, and he says to Eckersley, "Do you remember when I blocked the catcher? I think it was Deary, or I should remember that name." And Eckersley says, "Yeah, the umpire did call it." And then before that, he hits a dribbler that's foul by like 3 inches, or the game's over. But it goes foul, of course, and the rest is history. There's so much that went on in that at bat, but you never thought he could hit a home run hands only. And when you look at the swing and break it down, it is a hands only swing and not a strike, and he gets it out of the ballpark. It's just crazy, magical. It's nuts. Storybook.
I have to throw something years back, which I try and do once every week, whatever. But Gibson was a first-team All-American wide receiver at Michigan State and projected to be a first-round draft choice in the NFL. So those legs were beat up for years.
Yeah, and don't forget during the Hank Aaron call, it's poignant because once again there's silence, and then Scully comes in and says, "A black man is getting a standing ovation in the deep South." Man, so he's intellectual in a sense because he's always grasping for the right thing to say. In other words, you can say, of all the things you could say as an announcer, what would you say? And it seems like Vince Scully always got the quintessential right thing for the moment to put a caption on it.
And if you weren't an established announcer, I don't think not too many announcers could make that statement.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing I'll say on the matter is he was so popular to listen to on radio. Did you hear this yet? That the Dodgers used to have to make announcements for the fans to turn their radios down. They were getting that back.
Oh, at the game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they would all, 40,000 people would bring their radios in and then have their transistors. And then, you'd see Vince Scully and the guys up in the booth going like this to remind him that, thanks for listening to me on radio, but we're getting that, I guess, reverberation time, I think, for lack of the right word.
So this is before they had headphones.
Yeah, exactly.
I think part of the problem, too, is the old Dodger Stadium
You probably
was massive, like 60 rows, 70 rows or something like that, so the fans couldn't tell who the heck was up. And so they had Scully on there with him at the game as they're at the stadium. So I think it was just a really funny combination of what was going on there.
Did he have a catchphrase for home runs like Callis did and the guy from the White Sox?
Well, we know one of his was, "It's time for Dodgers baseball." And by the way, viewers, that was not Chuck trying to do a Vince Scully impersonation. God forbid. Forgive me. I don't know. I don't think so. Of course, he had the one for Gibson. We'll never forget that. But, just how much will he be missed? It's a bridge for me back to my dad, who died in 1969. But there's some common ground there. And a guy that's just... thank God he lived to be 94. Rest in peace, Vince Scully. Boy, will you ever be missed. And I just say he's without peer. And there's been a lot of great announcers in all sports. But is there anybody close?
No, he's the top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain. So why don't we get into some Philly sports? It was obviously a big day yesterday with 56 trades, something crazy like that.
Most I've ever
in
a long time.
I know I was eye-weary by the end of the day, that's for sure. And let's start off talking Phillies baseball, and of course we'll incorporate into that discussion the trades they made. Wiz, you want to open up about legal?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Phillies here, and I guess the real question is, do we think they improved? Here are the real quick trades. Then we can go into whatever ones we want here. The Phillies acquired Brandon Marsh, a young Angels outfielder, for our catching prospect you've heard us talk about, Logan O'Hoppe. We also acquired David Robertson. He is an old relief pitcher, was formerly with the Phillies and struggled but was injured, having a great year this year with the Cubs. So we acquired David Robertson, and we gave up Ben Brown, a prospect, 22-year-old starter who's doing pretty good this year. And lastly, right at the last moment here for the deadline, we acquired Noah Syndergaard, a.k.a. Thor, former Met. Now he was with the Angels, and we gave up Mickey Moniak, our former first-round pick, and a prospect named Jadiel Sanchez, who isn't much currently. So really, those are the only three things that the Phillies did here. The really big moves here, and I know the most questionable ones. I guess we can start with the first one is the Brandon Marsh acquisition for Logan O'Hoppe, giving away the next JT potentially is. We've seen how good this guy can be in the minors. What is that? I want to coach out. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think that O'Hoppe was not going to be in the picture for 3 years, so I think they thought that there, and you can't you got to give up something to get something, and the biggest thing is they stood on their grounds that they were not going to get rid of Painter, Abel, or McGarry, and so they still kept their best three pitching prospects in the system.
And I think from the Phillies' perspective, they're looking at this as we still have JT. We have JT for a while now, and this guy, Logan, he's a couple years away probably. And even if he does come up, you're already looking at a crowded spot. Even if you move JT to first, what do you do with Reese, right, the DH spot? It gets really crowded and tough. So I think that it makes sense. Oh, it is disappointing to give away a young stud catcher because they're so valuable. My only concern is what we're getting back with Brandon Marsh. The good news is we have 5 years of control over his contract. So if he turns into a really solid player, he's not going anywhere for a while. But the bad part, he's hitting .226 this year. He has a .280 on-base percentage, a .350 slug, and a .630 OPS.
Those numbers won't help.
They're terrible. Yeah. They're absolutely terrible. There's no way to sugarcoat this. His offense is awful.
He's not great in center field, right?
So everyone is praising him as a really great outfielder, which is true, but only in left field.
Right.
That's where he's played most of his time. Now, he's played some center this year with Trout out and some center last year, but his defensive run saved in left field is 7 this year. In left field, his defensive run saved is 7. In center field, it's -1. And last year was -3 in center field. So he's not a good center fielder by any means. Hopefully he can adjust on that and get more comfortable and familiar there and maybe turn that around. But right now, what we have today is a guy who is not a good center fielder and a absolutely terrible hitter. Those are the facts. Those are the absolute facts. What you're hearing on the radio is that he's a great outfielder, but he's not in center field, and that's where he's going to play. That could change. But as of today, he's not a good center fielder. There's no other way to view that.
Well, once again, we're going into the land of the deeper dive. What you hear on the radio, if you listen to guys like Howard Eskin, when he trashes JT, and he's a joke, and it was a bad contract. Howard Eskin, it was a great contract, and JT is currently ranked number 2 in all of baseball overall because his defensive skills are so good. His framing, blocking, 44%, throwing out, stealing, and now he's hitting like JT, and I think the power's going to come now. So, good, Jimmy.
No, these radio guys, they have tunnel vision. They don't see the full picture. They see offensive numbers. Oh, he stinks. Stinks. Waste of money.
I don't know why, since the model premise of our show initially, and we pivoted off of that for good reason, and it's worked out well, but I don't know why we don't have a 5-minute segment on our show and critique some of the nonsense we hear on the radio every week. And we certainly would start with Eskin, who publishes on Saturday. It's unbelievable how many he's a Philly hater. You'll never say that. I'm not a hater. I tell it like it is. No, you're a Philly hater, Howard. That's okay. Be that way. But you absolutely confuse everything you say, and it never has a statistical foundation to it because he doesn't want to study or look at any of that stuff. And analytics is eroding in baseball. But JT's having a really good year right now. And to Wiz's point, I think the Phillies are seeing that and saying, we're okay, catcher, for the next 3 years, so we can move this guy. There's always going to be a pain point to a trade when a minor league player has value, right?
And I think, Chad, you're right on 100%. I listened to a lot of stuff yesterday, last night, this morning, and they said the 3 Phillies needs that they said before were a center fielder, a relief pitcher, and a starter, and all these commentators said, and they got all 3.
Yeah.
Meaning that Marsh, to the average person listening, well, Marsh must be really a great defensive end. You've just proved not true.
No, yeah, and left, absolutely. But, I mean, for his entire center field experience, he's played there 687 innings. He has a -3 RTOT and -4 defensive runs saved. Right. His coverage ratio is slightly below the league average for that position. And I don't know if it's a comfortability thing. Maybe I'm sure he'll get better. I don't think he'll. Let me be clear. I don't think he'll stay the same.
Right.
If you know you're playing there every day, and it's probably a little intimidating playing center field as Mike Trout's replacement. That's probably put some pressure on you.
And these numbers are his major league numbers, correct?
Yes, these are major league numbers.
I'd be curious to see what his minor league numbers were in the outfield.
And he's only 24.
Yeah, you know the problem with that, Jim. I reference Baseball Reference, okay, from my source. Wiz dives into StatCast and worlds beyond that I don't even know. He gets some stuff that's unbelievable. But on Baseball Reference, they don't give you a lot of defensive statistics. On the minors, they'll give you the assist and chance. That doesn't tell you anything.
Right.
You got to get the defensive run saved and that zone rating. And if you dive into what zone rating means, it's very relevant. It tells a story. But most fans don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
that's the real story.
You basically have to explain it like people are 5. You have an elephant in center field and you have a jaguar. There's a fly ball 40 feet away. Which one's getting there quicker? We're looking at some zone ratings. That's all you really have to imagine. Now, obviously, Brandon Marsh, we're not saying he's like that, but you picture about how it comes down to how quick someone's jump is, how skilled they are at running the right path to the ball, not running in a curved line, a straight line to the ball. All those things factor into those zone ratings that say, what's the basically at the end of the day is here's a fly ball. What's the probability that it was caught, and did you catch it, basically? And then they say, hey, what credit do you get for that, really?
Right, and I think we should devote a little more time than we do to the stats that people call analytics, that because we said last week that nobody talks about OPS anymore. And you listen to GMs talk. What was his OPS plus? WHIP adjusted because they know that's what's the most relevant statistic to talk about.
And I'm sure they have the minor league numbers too.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have all that
whole data field. But let's talk about the relief pitcher, Robertson, right? Robertson.
Yep.
I said a name right, Coach.
So we acquired Dave Robertson, and we gave up Ben Brown. Ben Brown, let's start with him, just real quick on him. He's our prospect, He's 22 years old. He's a 3.08 ERA this year in A-plus ball, over 73 innings. Now, in return, we get Dave Robertson. I'll pull up some of his numbers here, and we'll go over them in a second. But Dave Robertson he's basically a rental at this point. He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
He's having a great comeback year, though. That's the good part. If you look at his numbers for this year, he has a 2.23 ERA over 40 innings.
Kind of shocking.
So he's done very well with the Cubs this year. When he was last with the Phillies, it was in 2019. He only threw 6 innings because of an injury. And he just didn't do good here. But that's not obviously too small. He got hurt.
He was coming, yeah.
For his career, he's a 2.89 ERA pitcher. So it's very reasonable to think he'll be sub-3, maybe even mid-2s, where he was with the Cubs. He was the low 2s. So if we can get him in that spot.
Very reliable 7th-inning guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a move that says Dave Robertson is a guy saying we need to win this year with him.
Yes, it is.
Like, he's that piece. Otherwise, Ben Brown could end up being a good starter one day. You don't know. You're taking that risk. Can Dave Robertson help us win this year deep into the postseason where we need a guy to return to, maybe in a middle relief spot there to get us through an inning, 7th, 8th inning, something like that.
Yeah, and the cake came out of the oven and it said, hey, we can win this year for Pittsburgh. No, they're not great, but you still don't go on the road against a team not so great and take 4 straight. It doesn't ever happen. I think they had to go back 25 years or whatever it was. So there's no doubt that perceptions have changed, and the organization and the fan base believes they can win now. Now, win a World Series, that's probably a stretch when you look at what the other teams did yesterday too.
Baby steps here. Let's just get in the playoffs.
But get in the playoffs, maybe win a round, and then you sharpen things, refine things, trim them for next year.
David Robertson, I believe he had Tommy John. And a guy from Chicago was on the last 10, 12 hours, whatever, said he knows him personally, and he said he really feels like he owes the Philadelphia people something when he got the $23 million before for 2 years, and so he's pretty hyped up to come back to Philly. So that sounded good to me.
That's good. That's the attitude you want. And the last trade we did here, this is personally my favorite. We acquired Noah Syndergaard, and we gave up Mickey Moniak, and I'm probably saying this wrong, Jadiel Sanchez, a prospect.
Bye-bye, Mickey.
So just a quick summary. Mickey Moniak, as you know, he was been terrible this year. He is a 130 hitter this year for the Phillies, a career 129 hitter in the big leagues. Very bad. The other prospect we gave up, Jadiel Sanchez, he is 21 now. And this year he's hit 239 through A ball and rookie ball. Not great, not much power. Looks like he could be really. I don't see much on this guy, so who knows if he'll get better. And Noah Syndergaard, the guy we got back, 6'6", 242 pounds. He is a presence on the mound. He's 29 years old now. He has a 3.83 ERA this year with the Angels, which I think it goes under the radar because his record's 5-8 because the Angels are so bad.
Right, exactly.
So his numbers this year aren't really bad at all. 3.8 ERA is very respectable. And for his career, he's a 3.37 ERA. So I'm pretty happy about this trade. He gives us that third. I assume will be our third guy in the bullpen.
He's got a
in the rotation.
1-2-1-3 whip. His hits per 9 innings are 8, which is good. And I think he can be a very, very reliable pitcher. 3, 4. You don't lose value by putting him in there. That's for sure. So I'm very pleased with that.
They say his 4 or 5 miles an hour less and everything, but he had the surgery too. Yeah. And people forget when they had the great staff with the Mets, he was the number 1 ranked pitcher, and Mr. DeGrom was number 2.
He was for a point. Yeah,
every time somebody trips over that, I'm going to say, can you name all 5?
Harvey,
right?
Mm-hmm. Who was the left-hander?
Well, you got Syndergaard. You
Mats.
Yep.
Well, he's the lefty.
Yeah, I got 4. Come on, give me some help.
Wheeler.
At Wheeler, that's right.
And then Syndergaard.
And Syndergaard.
DeGrom. There's 4, I think. Yeah.
We'll go.
Small D, big G, DeGrom. Right? Yeah. And they were, the Mets thought they were going to win for 15 years, and everybody broke down. And had Tommy John. And
DeGrom looked good last night, though.
But you know what, Jimmy? Like Boa says, you just know you can't rely on him. He's just not going to pitch the rest of the season. It's a shame.
See. I mean,
you'd love
he
to.
only pitched 50. So
we'll see.
Yeah, but you'll see. But you just, But hey, it's been too long, and we're still not talking about the big trade.
The Juan Soto.
Well, the one thing I want to say about Syndergaard, his pitch counts are very high.
Yeah,
he's 90 to 99 pitches in 5 to 6 innings.
Sounds like Noah.
Yeah, he's not a he doesn't go 7+. So
if the Phillies can make the playoffs right now, having Wheeler, Nola, and Syndergaard as your third guy, assuming he's the third guy, that's a really strong 3 right there.
It is.
That looks really good in a best of 5 or a best of 7.
And in case you haven't noticed, help me out, Coach. So it's JT Castellanos. Okay, the guys that are hitting it weren't. Bomb already started. For 6 weeks, he batted .414, was his number 2 hitter in all of baseball, and we were batting him 7th. Don't tell anybody we were batting him 7th the whole time, because he was comfortable down there. All right? And who am I forgetting? The last one that's hot right now, Hoskins. If those 4 guys are going to maintain their levels and increase. Now, I put it out 2 weeks ago in Twitter, Jimmy, be proud, that their final batting averages will all be higher than where they were 2 weeks ago. And so far, I'm dead on the money. So you didn't need to trade for a lot of offense because you've got 4 guys that are career hitters now hitting. So the run production jumped up to damn near 5. And that's before you put Segura and Harper back in the lineup. So when you make
some runs,
they're going to score some runs, man. And then they got pitching, and the bullpen looks good.
Tell you what's going to be interesting. When Segura's back, what's your infield?
What's your infield? Good, you start.
I think Stott has deserved to be the starter at shortstop. Yeah. I'm very impressed with the way he fields, and it looks like he's come on as a hitter to some degree. And Didi, you're not going to get him. What are you paying? Still paying him $10 million, and
they got to commit him to the bench. They got to have. You know what, Wiz? You agree? They got to put him on the bench. Will they though?
And there's guys
yes, but they won't. I agree with you, but they won't.
Man,
I agree with you.
See, the biggest problem there is they're both hitting from the left side. If you could rotate them to some degree, you get away with it. But the Sosa they just picked up is supposed to be a fantastic glove. I was so surprised they got another infielder.
Yeah. To your point, Stout, is it Stott? Stott has
he's
really,
not stout. He's fairly slender.
Thanks. He's a little chunky. So his numbers have doubled, but unfortunately, the last 2 months they've doubled, but they've doubled from like 120
and nowhere to go but up.
To 210. But he's definitely improving his at bats. You got to get him experience, Jimmy. Let him get those at bats. Just keep him in there. He's defensively really, really good, getting better as the team is. Now you have a heck of a lineup, man. I mean, Wiz, is Baum going to stay that hot?
Oh, he is hitting 418 the last 28 days. So no, he's not going to stay that hot.
Right? 300 hitter?
I think he'll hang around 285, 300.
Okay, I'll take that.
I will take that. He kind of reminds me of, I want to say Marco Scudero. Maybe not the best example. Look at a guy.
What a pull there.
It is a pull.
That came from left field, folks.
Jimmy, we're supposed to do 3-2-1. That means people that we take a timeout say, "What the f?" Hey, we're getting bull rushed here by some damn research you did, and you're trying to run that in here.
I think I had him in fantasy in the 90s.
That'd have been about my thousand guess you were going to say.
For the millionth lottery here, we're going to go to Garudo.
So what I'm saying about Marco is that he was a great hitter in terms of he had a career 280 average, and he had many years where he hit about 300, 299, stuff like that. But he had no power. And that is Alec Bohm. Over the last 28 days, he's hit 418, and his OPS is only 1.04. If you're hitting 418, your OPS should be way higher than that. Way higher.
But if it's anything like last week, Wiz, you said about no power and he hit a home run the next game, so let's hope that works again.
The one difference between Scudero and Bohm, Scudero could play the field.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Over the last 28 days, he has 3 home runs. Just his power's not there.
No.
If he can get it up to even a decent spot.
Well, the point, again, is well positioned because he's a third baseman. And third basemen in Major League Baseball have to give you a quantity of power. And if every guy, well, maybe it's a good question. If every guy hit 289, well above Major League Baseball's average right now of 243, would you win a World Series if everybody hit 289?
Sure.
Probably would, right? You'd produce a lot of runs through singles and bunts and small balls.
Arenado, Machado, Riley.
Yeah, right?
You got a lot of stud third basemen.
Right.
Let me clarify one thing. Yeah. Over the past 28 days, technically, his slugging percentage is .612. That's not the problem. The problem here, really, too, is that he doesn't walk enough. 418 on base percentage and a 418 average and a 437 on base. In the past 71 plate appearances, he has 3 walks.
Yeah.
That's bad. He can't just be a guy that gets base hits.
That's why you're not seeing him at leadoff. Right?
He doesn't walk. He doesn't have a lot of power. Yeah, he hits for a high average. So where do we put him in the lineup?
I think
after Harper, with Harper on base, when he's back? Or
let's put it this way. He's the least of our problems with 2-3 hits a game.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So let's talk about the next problem we have. It's certainly not Alex Baum right now, the way he's hitting. The bullpen's doing better, Jimmy. The starting pitchers' rotation's been better. Now you add Thor to that. You add Robertson to the pen. The team's improved, and they've been doing very well. And now they have to match up against the plus 500 teams who they beat this year. But how much did it matter that you swept the Pirates? Probably not much. But it's a momentum builder for sure.
You won the series against the Braves.
You won the series against the Braves. Got the fans back in it after the horrible stretch against the Cubs. I know you got something hot out.
I think the problem is you can't have that fifth pitcher being the relief, by committee type thing. Gibson, you don't know where he is. You're hoping Syndergaard could be. And I think really it looks like Eflin. That's a chronic situation with that knee, and I'm not looking for him to be really of any help At least not this year.
They put him on the 60-day.
Yeah, I saw that. So that tells you right there.
Yeah, and before we get to the big trade, Atlanta and the Mets kept pace. They've added the guy that'll get the double, and you'll look at his numbers and you'll say, oh, his numbers aren't that great, but he gets a certain pitcher from the left side. He delivers in postseason, and it'll help the team. They added complementary players and relief pitchers that they very much needed. I think they stayed on pace. We certainly didn't catch. There's no deficit catch for sure. But the big story yesterday. Let's go, Wiz. Bring it in. What's the big news from yesterday?
Well, it's definitely the winner of the trade deadline, which was the Padres. Juan Soto, superstar, 23-year-old from the Nationals, traded to the San Diego Padres for quite an extensive deal. Before we go into that, let me just say one thing about Soto here. He's only 23. He's the second person in baseball history, other than Hall of Famer Ted Williams, arguably one of the best players, well, no argument, one of the best players of all time. Through his age 23 season, he has the second highest on-base percentage, minimum 2,000 plate appearances. Ted Williams was 481 through age 23, and Juan Soto is 427 right now.
He's a generational talent, that's for sure.
No doubt about it.
Really is.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that Padres lineup, you got Tatis coming back, and Manny, of course. They also got Josh Bell. Let's not forget that. Brandon Drury with 20 home runs. Their lineup 1 through 7 is going to be absolutely dynamite, right? They lacked a little bit of run production because they've had Tatis out, but right now, are they the favorite to beat the Dodgers? No, right?
No, not yet.
Right? How come? Because of pitching?
Yeah, they don't have the pitching.
Yeah. But, boy, I'll tell you what, they're going to be fun.
It'll be exciting. Very exciting team. And they are not a small market team anymore.
Yeah, just think about I say Tatis as if he's going to get healthy. There are reports with the shoulder thing that he's got that he may never. But if he is, to watch Tatis, Soto, and Machado consecutively in a batting order, you don't have any team you can compare that to in Major League Baseball, right? And they also got Josh Hader, Wiz, right?
Yeah, they also have Josh Hader. He struggled a bit this year. He's got a 4 ERA, but actually still leads the big leagues in baseball and leads the big leagues in saves with 29, which is pretty impressive considering he has a 4 ERA. He started the season off unbelievable. He struggled a bit recently. I don't know, maybe if he's battling some injuries, anything going on maybe. But, I mean, for his career, he's a 2.4 ERA, and I'm no doubt he'll bounce back. So having those hitters with Josh Hader sitting in there ready to close the door, that's going to be pretty potent.
I think it took him a few weeks to get over Stubbs taking him out there and that that 3-run homer in the ninth.
How about this, Coach? I'll just throw that out for what it's worth, and I don't mean to react too quick on this situation, but his ERA 1.23 last year, ridiculous. Okay, 4.24 and 22. Bear with me here. WHIP 0.835, 21, 1-1. Certainly not bad right now. How about this? Hits per 9 inning last year 3.8 and 21. 7 per 9 innings now. I marked that a wow. All right, batting average against 127 and 21, 203 now. OPS 421 and 21, 700 now. So we were just talking, batting average against balls in play, 218 and 21, 310 and 22. Another wow. So when you look beyond the numbers, Wiz, Milwaukee's got some concerns, early concerns, but concerns. And they also got a guy that can fill in Devin Williams. This guy is lights out. ERA of 1.59, WHIP 1.008, hits per 9, 4, K per 9, 15. They think they've got his replacement.
Yeah, I mean, they must know something on Josh Hader that the public doesn't. Maybe he's feeling, again, if it's not an injury, then this is his chance to start fresh and get back to what he was. And I think he's going to do it personally. If there is an injury, then something else.
About the fact
he's got to get that resolved.
How about the fact that guys that throw that hard for that long at 100 miles an hour in high stress, This is a guy that's come in every time bases are loaded and you have a 1-run lead. Okay, he's got to get you out of it. They're really high stress situations.
Yeah, but he's young. And he's 28. I mean, if he's the closer, he's normally coming in the 9th inning.
Yeah, and he's going to want a lot of money next year.
Yeah.
So I think this is Milwaukee with forward thinking. The Eagles used to do this all the time, saying, "Hey, his numbers are starting to depreciate. Okay, we see some weakness. He's going to cost us a fortune, and we got a guy putting up Josh Hader-like numbers right now in the 8th inning. Move him to our closer. By the way, the rest of their bullpen is very, very good too. All right, get some complimentary players back." And I think it's a smart move. I like that.
I thought I just read somewhere where his minute ERA up until July, and for July it was like 12.4 or something like ridiculous.
Yeah, we talked about Hader a couple months ago when the Phillies, maybe 6 weeks ago when the Phillies had either the walk off or the go ahead against him, and then we talked about how lights out he was. So I'm surprised to see that he's now ERAs all up to 4. He must have had a really bad July.
One of the things we were remiss not to say were some of the players that were sent to the Nats from San Diego. Wiz, do you want to run through that real quick? I got it handy. Just to you talk about a haul. I mean, the Nats got unbelievable talent back. We're just going to not to bore you with all the details, but let's just go real quick through that.
All right, so they have a C.J. Abrams. He's 21, middle infielder. Hit 400 his first season in the minors. Overall he's hitting 335 in the minors.
Number 1 pick.
Looks like a future star here. James Wood, 19-year-old outfielder. His minor league slash line is at 340 average, 450 on base, 1,000 OPS. Unbelievable for 19 years old.
Number 2 pick.
Robert Hassel.
Number 1 pick.
20-year-old outfielder, hitting 301, 390 on base, 860 OPS. Another stud. He's got speed. He's got power. Good defender, all around another solid player. Jarlin Susana, 18 years old, international player, 2.5 ERA. He's a relief pitcher, sub 0.9 WHIP. Really incredible young talent here for this guy. And lastly, Mackenzie Gore, 23-year-old. He's their oldest guy in the trade. Lefty pitcher. He's currently a rookie. We'll see how he develops and stuff. It's kind of early to really pinpoint that one.
Coach Al, there's 5 young studs.
And it's amazing. We don't know any of their names unless you're really into.
Well, we know Mackenzie Gore, and C.J. Abrams. I study. Okay. You wouldn't know I study because I can't pronounce any names. Okay, but I spend an hour a night looking at minor league players, and I can tell you this. San Diego restocked the inventory because they went through all their inventory years ago, restocked their inventory. And here's the scary part. We just articulated how the credentials of these players, they kept their top 5 minor league talent.
That's scary.
They kept it yesterday. But they were as deep as like 13. So they made other trades too. So
now a guy like C.J. Abrams will be fun to track because he comes up to the big leagues. He's 21, and he really struggled so far. He's at 232. But his minor league numbers, he's hitting 335 for his career. So, it's clearly didn't discourage the Nationals from what they were seeing. But he's a guy who had some big league experience and struggled so far. Again, only 130 plate appearances. He can't make anything of that.
Yeah, if I can speak to that from my observations in depth, when you look at the minor league grids, I'm talking about their offensive, batting average and on base and slug and OPS plus. When you look at a player that goes through A ball, there's different levels of A ball. Okay, there's low A, middle, high, and all that stuff. Then you have double and triple and all that stuff. When you look at the compilation of stats for their entire minor league career, and it's 290 plus and OPS is 850 plus, they end up hitting in the Major League Baseball more often than not. So he'll hit. And very few guys get up there with an OPS of 850, 900 from the minors and bat 600 OPS in the majors. Now, does it take a couple years? Absolutely, for most players. Not everybody. These are guys that are going to hit. The Nats got a haul yesterday.
Oh, and the Nationals got these guys under control for...
They have them under control.
What, 5-6 years?
Exactly.
So, even when they start playing major league level, they got him under control.
And you ask how fast can a team turn around? Well, I will give you the Houston Astros that stunk for 4 years in a row, and some people said they tanked. I think it's a little bit different in baseball. I think you just deplete your talent to the point where you really can't compete. But the Astros made smart choices with their draft picks. They restocked. They made some smart trades, and I guess you could say the rest is history now because they threatened the Yankees.
They're there every year now.
Yeah, and they got a lot of help yesterday too. So it was an exciting day, lots of action, and it's going to be really exciting to watch Soto with San Diego, and of course continue to track our Phillies. What's going on in the world of football, Coach?
Well, all the reports, they're still not hitting yet and so forth. So it's so tough to really. But everything you read, that even Rager had a half-decent day yesterday. I wanted to go, whatever. But supposedly Hurts had one bad day. So this time of year, before they get into a game, I can't pay attention to much of the things going on.
Did the coach say that they're not going to hit at all?
Yeah, that's kind of
this year.
official. Hit but not take down.
Yeah,
right?
that I don't get. That, I mean, I can see leading up to it and maybe start hitting in a couple weeks, but to not hit in all training camp?
That's their analytics, sports science, saying keep these guys not bruised, healthy, fresh legs, but conditioned. And all but hitting and through driving someone to the ground, and these guys aren't going to have a bruise on their body come game one.
Yeah, they're also not going to know how to tackle.
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. Tampa Bay lost their starting center already. Dallas has lost 2 receivers. So this proves their point if they want to say something. That's why we're not doing it. If they want to use
those exhibits, Brady will tell you he's really upset about losing his center.
Sure.
And Brady will also articulate what that means in terms of wins and losses, how important the center is. So, I mean, Coach, that's what they're looking at. There's no doubt about it. They're saying we're going to be fresh. We're going to be conditioned. We're going to know the playbook. We're going to do the reps, but we don't want people hurting to start the season. What do you think, Wiz?
I'm on the fence about it. I'm fine with waiting. I think you need to ramp up eventually, though. And you got to get ready to play. Like, you can't go into the NFL first pregame and not have hit anyone. You have to have some experience for that and some, recent muscle memory, I guess.
Yeah, body conditioning.
You would think, I mean, you're going to get, when you get hit, like, it's like, I guess we can't really experience it. We're not professional athletes, but I know when I play my first round of golf each year, the next day I'm like, oh, I'm dead. Yeah. Now, I doubt it's like that for professional athletes because they're doing a lot of other things, but I'm sure there's some level of after that first time you're hit, that next day you probably feel really tough and really bad just because it's your first time getting pulverized like that for the year. But, I mean, they at the same time, they have the whole entire preseason to figure that out.
And they aren't going to
I'm on the fence with it.
Aren't they going to play some controlled practices with other teams?
With the Browns, in fact.
All right, that's got to be hit and take to the ground real football, right? The Browns aren't coming to town and tell everybody to play tag football, right?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Two-hand touch?
They may put the flags on.
Yeah, put the flags on it. It'd be hilarious. You're go the Eagles running with flags on.
Maybe Rager would actually do something then.
They are controlled scrimmages.
Do we still have a basketball team in town? What's going on, Coach, with any news?
No news except where they're going to play. Everything hasn't been too much said, especially with the draft.
How are we doing time-wise, Jimmy?
45.
45. We're close to Rants.
Got one more pretty big NFL story we haven't talked about yet.
We do.
Part of the reason why we kind of got ramped up here to really break this down as soon as we could is
why we're recording on Wednesday versus Friday initially, right? It was draft and Deshaun Watson.
With the trade deadline and Deshaun Watson.
And Vin Scully died.
So I'm sure everyone is aware of this information, but Deshaun Watson currently, it was a alleged 30 sexual assault allegations against him, and currently he just got a 6-game suspension. That just came out a couple days ago here. Almost everyone that I've seen really, it's just totally outraged at this decision here that came by the, I think the retired federal judge Sue Robinson. The way the NFL and Sue went about this, they interviewed 12 of the 24 women who were suing Watson, but then they only took 4 of those testimonies. So I don't know why they're so limited there in that scope, and why they're looking at all, maybe 15, 20, or all 30 of the allegations.
Because I'm going to just guess, okay, that the other one settled their civil suit for so much money that they're not talking.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know, but the bottom line is, I mean, it's basically like, if you break it down in a ratio, which is not a good thing to do, it's basically for every 5 sexual assaults, this guy, he got 1 game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's insane.
We're talking ridiculous. Not you, but we're talking about a horrific situation, a ridiculous punitive judgment, and it's it's so sad that everybody wouldn't be on the same page, Coach, on something like this. You hear about these multiple infractions. He's a predator. Isn't that somebody walked by in the office and they said, "Hey, nice job," and they hit me on the backside, and I saw that, and somebody else witnessed it, so you're going to be in trouble. That can't happen in the office nowadays, okay? You got to be careful how you address your employees when it comes to metaphors and stuff that you say to make a point. Can't say a lot of stuff that you used to say, right? But this is not that. This is not an officer. A
whole nother level.
This is a guy who's a predator who, during his massages, I get one every week for a situation I have with my legs, looked at those, took advantage of those times to be very aggressive with somebody because of his reputation and brand and what he could get away with and money, to say, we're going to advance this to something sexual. And, right away, these massage therapists don't want to lose their job and go out and rat on him because he's a high target. So you're intimidated as to who to tell officially, what to do officially. So they have to smolder through that whole thing, these poor girls that were doing this. And there's 30 of them, did you say?
At least 30, yeah.
That's horrific.
The intent,
that's not 6 games.
The intent behind it, too, is disgusting. Apparently, Deshaun Watson would be in his car waiting for the NDA to be signed or something like that.
Right.
While he had his own towel. A very small towel he would bring into his, not the sheets that are designed for massage therapists to use to cover, private areas, things like that. That you see at any typical massage. No, Deshaun Watson had a small towel that he would wear around himself.
Where did you read that? I mean,
that was on ESPN.
Okay.
Now he's absolutely everything wrong with the NFL. Right there, it's disgusting.
Jimmy, can you get this take to the NFL?
Look, last year, Calvin Ridley made a bet that his team was going to win a game of the NFL. That's not okay, but he made a bet.
He didn't even play in.
Right. He didn't even play. He is currently suspended indefinitely through at least the entire 2022 season. He's losing $11 million, Calvin Ridley, for making a bet on his team.
No exaggeration.
No.
Right?
Deshaun Watson is a 6-game suspension. He's losing less than $1 million. Trevor Bauer got a 324-game suspension, 2 years. Again, currently they're saying non-criminal sexual assault allegations. Now, I don't want to compare Trevor Bauer to Deshaun Watson and make it sound like Trevor Bauer is right or wrong.
I got you.
And get into all that.
We're with you there.
The point is, the MLB took it seriously and said, you're done for 2 years for 2 sexual assault allegations. Deshaun Watson has 30 here. Bauer's suspension is costing him $60 million. I think Watson's going to cost him about $300,000.
Not MLB, right? NFL. Correction, right?
MLB. For Trevor Bauer, the pitcher.
For Bauer, the pitcher.
The pitcher for the Dodgers.
Oh, I'm sorry. With you. My bad.
And they have brought that up 2 or 3 times and then just extended it, too.
DeAndre Hopkins, for illegal substances, is suspended 6 games and a $5.2 million. Okay.
And what was that, weed?
I think it was weed. Yeah. Josh Gordon had his career ruined for having some weed. Deshaun Watson, 6 games. There is no comparison here. It's absolutely disgusting what they did to him.
Very good portrayal.
I don't say what they did to him, how they treated him this favorably. It's just
the most
insane.
Disgusting part of this is the NDAs were provided by the Houston Texans. because they knew that he liked doing this, and they were okay with it.
Well,
they should be wiped off the face of the NFL.
I'm sorry, Coach. I know you got something to say here, very meaningful. We talked last week about how you could have a contract condition at the very end. That was it.
Yeah, with Kyler Murray.
Now, we thought that was farcical. Let's take that times 10. How about a contract condition that would say to Deshaun Watson, you can only get a massage by one of our people. You're walking around the locker room looking at your other teammates, your players, going, "Yeah, you're going to. I can't because I have to be." How do you respect a guy like that, Al?
Well, let's go back last year when it first surfaced. They told him we're going to sit you down, but they still paid him over $10 million.
Yep.
And then those 30 women brought civil suits against Houston. They were settled. And then the 20 women. Supposedly, now if you're getting $230 million guaranteed, right. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say that, well, those 20 just got taken care of, and then 3 out of the next 4 got taken care of, and one person's standing, by herself now.
Were they all $1 million civil settlements? $1 million bucks?
I don't know if you can see the numbers.
I don't think it was ever discussed.
I would assume so. Yeah. I mean, what the sports world is going to have to do. And this is how it should be. If there are any provable enough sexual assault allegations against you, you need to be banned from the sport forever. These people have no place in sports.
That's what it screams out.
Sports are supposed to be entertainment, fun. People look up to these players as role models. If you're doing these things, you need to be out of the game forever, and probably worse than that.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. There is no 6-game ban, or even for Trevor Bauer. They should be done forever. They have no place in the game.
In the criminal world, if you go before, and I'm not an attorney, but if you go before a judge for multiple offenses, we'll just keep it to selling drugs, and you're in there for the 7th time in 4 years for selling heroin, they look at you as a lifetime offender. You're going to come back to jail, and you're going to get out, and you're going to do it again. And you can only do it so many times before the sentence is going to be 25 years because you are a patented lifetime offender. But the NFL, 24 to 30 times don't count in one instance, right?
Yeah, what you're talking about is a 3-strike rule. You go the 3rd time, bye-bye, you're gone.
Thanks for that.
If any of these were caught on camera, he would never play again. Just like Ray Rice.
And that's what a lot of people are saying. But at the same time, like, people who make that defense, it's like, well, of course they can't have cameras in a massage
Well, I believe
room.
I believe Robert Kraft got caught on camera.
Yeah. It's just the NFL basically here saying, again, what they don't care about at the end of the day.
Betting bad.
It really is.
Sexual assault, okay.
Yeah. I mean, last year, I think the NFL could have placed Deshaun Watson on some type of restriction to maybe handle this whole situation better, and they didn't. They only got this involved when the public outcry was, this is terrible. If that wouldn't happen, the NFL is handling this totally differently. And that's one thing that that the judge handling this, Sue Robinson, said. She said that the league could have placed Watson on the commissioner's exempt list last year and chose not to, which she appears to think means the league didn't consider his behavior worthy of such a punishment until the public outcry came.
And if this guy was a second-string offensive lineman, he would be out of the league. No doubt about it.
Now,
all about money, Jim.
If his 6-week suspension, if that ends up what it is being, and the NFL doesn't appeal and say it's 6 games, he comes back week 7 against the Ravens. I mean, I would never hope injury on a player, but I hope Deshaun Watson gets his clock absolutely cleaned every single play.
You better believe there'll be headhunters.
Oh, I hope so.
Assassins in the league.
I hope so.
This crap. You know how sad this is. We're talking about the local sports radio, and this is not just to bang on sports radio. I enjoy listening to WIP. I listen to it every day. But Howard Eskin 2 months ago wanted him, notwithstanding all of these charges and circumstances, he said, in the NFL, all teams have some black marks and stuff that has happened. So he wanted him as the Eagles quarterback. And I think a couple people in WIP, the morning show, were willing to set this aside. have Deshaun Watson as quarterback, knowing that we have question marks with Hurts.
I mean, Philadelphia would have been outraged. I mean, look what we said about Odubel. Everyone hates Odubel. And for what happened with him, that was one person. Again, I'm not comparing them, but we bring in Deshaun Watson here. It's just you got to have the standard. At the end of the day, this is entertainment. It's not all win at all cost and morals and standards be damned out the door. And what Deshaun Watson did,
And at a practice the other day, Deshaun Watson come out and the Cleveland people were cheering, and you could even hear someone in the background yelling, "We love you,
scumbags." That was my rant.
The dog pound.
So we're going to dial Ray up for a heck of a rant, I think, on this. What would your penalty have been to Deshaun Watson if you're a commissioner? You can make a one-man decision. What would it have been?
Definitely have to be a year to me.
A year, Jimmy?
Oh, lifetime. Lifetime ban.
Absolutely lifetime ban.
Lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, anyone doesn't know, kind of a nice twist on this. It's not the right terminology. The wife of Jim Thome, Andrea Thome, earlier this year canceled Brown season tickets after the Deshaun Watson trade. This is something I hope I think everyone should do personally. I don't know how anyone can support the Browns fan. I mean, the stuff you see on Twitter about the Browns fans defending this is enough to make you sick and really troubling. I hope more people do that. I hope everyone cancels their season tickets and no one ever goes to the Browns game again.
I'll tell you a guy that's going to have to act like a stone-cold hypocrite for as long as he's coaching, and that's going to be what's the name of his coach? He's give me the team again real quick. Browns. Stefanski.
Stefanski from Philly. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he's Ivy League. Wasn't he Penn?
Yeah, him and his father. Yeah,
real good pedigree, the whole bit. How many times is Kevin Stefanski going to have to look at the camera and lie about how he feels about his quarterback? Right? You don't think he's signing off on this, do you?
I would quit too.
Yeah, well, that's difficult, right? That's your career.
You finally get to be a head coach. It's pretty tough to know.
So we're going to bring Big Ray in on
Ray's ready. Ready for rants?
Are you with us, Ray?
Oh, I'm with you in spirit, in mind, in body.
We miss you, Bubba. We're looking forward to getting you back.
I know. We got to put this thing together.
We got to do it, buddy. Listen, we thought just maybe that you'd like to rant on Deshaun Watson, or you take your shot, buddy. Where is it? Bring it on.
Well, I'm going the other way.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the first time I'm actually going to say something nice about someone. So, but don't get used to it. I'm going to talk about Vin Scully, people.
Okay, good.
Going to talk about Vin Scully and then your Phillies, the island of misfit players. Anyway, what a beautiful, smooth, velvety voice, Vin Scully, a man who lived to be 94, and out of those years, he spent 67 of them calling games for the Dodgers, beginning in 1950 and ending in 2016. In 2009, his peers voted him number one on its list of the top 50 sportscasters of all time.
Unbelievable.
Tommy Lasorda claimed, quote, Scully bled Dodger blue. When calling Hank Aaron's 715th home run, breaking Babe Ruth's record, Mr. Scully simply said, to the fence, it's gone. But he also left the country with this beauty. What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball legend. He also called Larson's World Series perfect game, and when Koufax retired all 27 Chicago Cubs that he faced. And he also saw Jackie Robinson break the color barrier. And also when an injured Kirk Gibson pinch hit a game-winning home run for the Dodgers against the A's in the opener of the '88 World Series at Dodger Stadium, Mr. Scully observed, in a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
What the hell, Ray?
When presented with the Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama, Barack Obama.
Close enough.
Hey, that's more.
Barack Obama said most play-by-play announcers partner with an analyst in the booth to chat about the action. Vin worked alone and just talked with us.
That's more research you've done in 2 years, Bubba. What the heck?
Thank you. As usual, you're still interrupting me.
That's why we miss you.
Before throwing out the first pitch in Game 2 of the 2017 World Series, Scully replied, "Somewhere up in heaven, Duke Snyder, Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, and Gil Hodges are laughing their heads off." He told the crowd, "Look at who's throwing out the first ball at the World Series. Rest in peace, Vin Scully. You will be missed." And then I have my last comment.
Beautiful.
I'm crying.
Thank you. The trade line has come and gone, and so have our playoffs chances. As the Phillies are like that little Santa Claus show that comes out every year. They live in the island of misfit ball players, as I said earlier. But at least they did something right, getting rid of Odubel and Mickey Moniak, who no doubt will become a star at his next team. Mark that down, and I'm dead serious. Mickey Moniak will become a star in the big leagues. Now, if I had a microphone, gentlemen, I would just drop it here and say I'm out. But my phone is too damn expensive. So, do you have any questions for me while I'm still here?
Ray, that was the greatest 3 minutes in our podcast history.
Felt like 10. Howard Meat Sales, man. You got that expensive phone, and you.
Yeah.
All right, man. You're doing well. We got to get you back in.
And Ray, you forgot Familia too.
What's that?
La Familia.
You forgot Familia along with Moniak and Odubel.
We weren't sad to see him
go. They did that for all the Italians. You know, all the mob people. They got, they still think the mob. When they heard La Familia, they thought the mob was.
I have one fair question for you, Bubba. You ready?
Yes.
Is that more research than you've done in 2 years added all together? Yes or no?
I never did that much research in high school.
We
and
miss you.
3 years of college too.
We're looking forward to getting you back because you are the voice. You are the open. They leave that to be.
But the show's doing great. It sounds great. We got 3,000 listeners. We're going straight to the top, baby.
How about that,
Ray? I hope you checked out my Gardner Minshew rant last week for you. Gardner Minshew is ready to go. He slept in a old prison bus this past offseason.
That's great.
And Ray, you said we're going right to the top, and we're includes you.
Yes, good point, Coach Al. How about him bringing it, man? He's still bringing it.
And I want to tell you something. Coach Al left me such a beautiful, kind message.
He did.
And I save all those, Coach. Honestly, yes, he did.
Can you share? Can you share a little bit?
I won't share because that's personal. But he knows I love him, and that was just a very nice thing to do.
Yeah, Coach Al's good like that. He's a very kind man.
Yes, he is.
All right, well,
yes,
listen.
He is.
Great to hear from your brother.
You don't mind you don't mind
all right, man.
You don't mind if we do our rants now, do you?
Come on, I'm here. I want to listen.
Coach, bat and lead off.
I don't know if this is really a rant, but I have something to say about a great player who has diminished his career. Robinson Cano. Between 2005 and 13 with the Yankees and 4 years with the Mariners, great player. No doubt about it. But all of a sudden then he got the PEDs for the 1 year. Now he's come back this year with 3 different teams. One of them he didn't even hit 100. The other 2 were not over 160. His lifetime batting average is 301. Robinson, be remembered as a 300 career hitter. Don't try and hang on and get down to 299. End of rant.
That's it. Once again, I'm going to pick the option between rant and rave. I'm going to go with rave. Vin Scully, there is no way for me to thank you. I don't want to get emotional here, but you were a bridge back to my dad, who died in '69. He loved you. So I've followed you ever since, and I'm going to get emotional. So I'll just say thank you and pass it to Wiz. God bless you, man. We'll miss you.
Oh, no one better than him. I am going to say that, as everyone knows here on the show, we really like to focus on high quality reporting. You know, what you hear in the media, the other side, the facts. And in that note, I'm going to rant on myself because last week on the show, I did not do JT Realmuto justice. JT, as of last Saturday, he leads all catchers in plate appearances, at-bats, runs scored, hits, triples, RBIs, total bases, and stolen bases. He has 13 stolen bases as of last Saturday. Second place has 5. Last week, I discredited JT in a manner that was patently unacceptable. And I need to rant against myself because that is not what this show's about. That is not what any of us are about. And we have to be accountable for our actions. So JT is an absolute, he's still great. Okay, is he the high average hitter he was the past prior years? No. But he absolutely is still one of the best catchers in baseball. There is no doubt about that. He's still an elite catcher. He's top 3 easy.
So if you're going to hold yourself accountable, you may want to say that you said the Phillies need to fire all of their people in the minor league system. They had already done that and put Madeline in place. You could have included that.
I mean, I'm for the minor league system, what I'll say is that the scouts all need to go. Even if they're bringing a new guy.
But they just got new ones.
No, they brought in a new, I thought it was a new.
We're good.
Right. The scouts still need to be better. But yeah.
You have Gene Shaw and Milt Thompson that are starting to help with Madeline.
Yep. Jimmy?
My rant, as Al stole my thunder earlier, is the Cleveland Browns fans. What a bunch of scumbags. How can you applaud this guy who is getting paid tons of money and has molested numerous women? It's a disgusting franchise, disgusting fan base, and the NFL and the Browns should be ashamed.
Wiz, out of those viewers that are increasing by the week, thank you so much. We were talking about 200 way back when, and now we're talking about 3,000. It's getting exciting. Wiz, how to get all of us?
Yeah, as always, guys, our website, speakingofsportspod.com. Our Twitter, Speaking of Sports Podcast. Email, speakingofsportspod@gmail.com. Make sure you check us out on Facebook. Now, not everyone knows. If you're listening to this podcast, just audio, just the podcast, check us out on Facebook or YouTube. We record video now and we put it up there so you can see us. You can see our reactions. You can see some of the banner that goes on when we're not talking. It's kind of fun. So check it out, and you'll see probably see Ray doing some crazy stuff too. So I think you'll like it.
As always, get a hold of me at 609-828-5569. And thank you to Gary, who reached out to me last Saturday. I also heard from Crazy Mike, who talks about the mistakes we make. Bring it, Mike. We're getting better, buddy. Keep it coming. Keep the heat coming. But Gary talked about if you're going to be on Facebook, you got to make sure certain things a certain way, a little bit of housekeeping issues. Did like the chords. I think we have less this week. That's a tough one, Gary. We're going to get it. Once our table turned around, all good points. This guy's been a professional his entire life. Friend of Coach Al's. And thank you, Gary. You had our best interest at heart, and we're taking most of your advice as quick as we can.
Amen.
That's a wrap.
See you, Ray.
Be good, Bubba.
See you guys.
See you, pal.